Well, with me now are Millie Dowler's uncle, Brian Gilbertson, criminal barrister John Cooper QC, and the woman appointed by the government to speak up for victims and witnesses, Louise Casey. Brian Gilbertson, thank you very much indeed for coming in tonight on such an emotional day. You must feel as angry as your family did outside court, clearly.
Whilst I feel some relief about the verdict today, which is tremendous news, and the sentencing is what we all wanted, there's so much anguish about what went on in that court and the pain that it put through the family. You've heard my sister express her concerns, what went on. It was so harrowing, and we felt as a family at times that we were on trial.
What is it about the experience that you feel most aggrieved about?
We're just a normal family, we was, and then our niece, or Sally's daughter's been taken away from her by Bellfield, and there we were in court trying to do our best, answering to a jury and a judge exactly what went on and those circumstances surrounding, and he decided, or Bellfield decided, not to give evidence and to instruct his barrister to question, it seemed, the lifestyle and everything we said, whether it was accurate and true, and it made us feel as if we were on trial.
John Cooper, can you see any wrong in the way they were treated?
I can't see any wrong. I have sympathy, and let me say that straight away, and I can quite understand the emotional feeling of the family. But let's understand this. The barrister was doing his duty to the defendant and to the citizen. Today it was someone who may be reviled, quite rightly so. Tomorrow it may be another member of society who requires that sort of protection. So the barrister was
just doing his job? That's his job to question their integrity?
Well, it's his job to challenge the evidence where he's instructed to do so. And it's important to say this. If he was challenging evidence, which was bad character, as we call it in the law, he would have had the permission of the judge to do so. And that would be after careful argument and challenge by the prosecution. So it is important in the general system of a criminal trial that guilt or innocence is established. And that is the fundamental importance of a trial.
Louise Casey, is the system broken?
Yes, I'm afraid I don't agree with John. I think that the reason I feel profoundly this case shines a light on the fact that victims and witnesses do not enjoy the same rights as offenders. When people talk about a fair trial, they're talking about a fair trial to the defendant. Now, I'm up for that. I don't want innocent people put behind bars. But we have to ask ourselves, if a family come out of a courtroom in the way that this family have, suffered in the way that Mr. Gilbert has described, but also by the family today, how am I as a victims commissioner going to persuade other people to give evidence, to report crime, if the legal system can't do right, can't do it humanely?
But who was wrong? Was it the judge that was wrong, or the barrister? Or...
To be honest, if they both followed the rules and the QC to my right says they followed those rules, then I say to you those rules are wrong, and we need to look at those rules again. Why, for example, does the footballer, a rich footballer, is able to get a super injunction to silence, whilst meanwhile back in the Old Bailey, this family's private life is destroyed?
Well, go on briefly.
Very briefly indeed, this is a criminal trial which has to be conducted openly. What Louise is talking about is a civil action which is conducted privately. Open justice is important.
Well, Brian Gilbertson, how do you feel about this? Because there was an application to hold some of this trial away from the media so that we couldn't have reported it. Is that what you'd have wanted?
No, not personally. I was quite happy for the media to pay attention to the trial, because I think the media has helped all the way through this case. But with yourself, John, I don't agree with you. I was on the receiving end of Mr. Samuel's cross-examination, and it certainly was with a lot of vigour. Yes. And very robust that he was taking these questions, and his ways of answering questions and ways of dealing with a delicate situation. You still get the same answer, but if somebody comes at you, they're rough and ready. I mean, you felt like a rugby player.
Well, there is an important point you're making here. Whilst counsel will do their duty, and I did note in your opening that the judge said he was done with skill. I wasn't there, I don't know. But whilst counsel can do their duty to challenge, often it's a good technique to do it quietly and calmly, rather than going at it aggressively.
But this sounds like it is the judge's responsibility to decide whether the questioning was appropriate or not. Now, the family clearly think it was wrong.
Well, I have asked, I think I've made it clear already today, that I feel the time is right for the judges to look again at whether they need a practice direction in how they conduct these trials. We have them for children that are defendants. We don't have them, interestingly, for children that are witnesses. We don't have them for bereaved families. We don't have them for rape victims. So I think it's time the system took a look at itself and said to itself, if the message from today is do not go into a courtroom, you'll be ravaged, your entire life will be torn apart, that people go too far in order to do due process to offenders, then I think a wake-up call has to happen. I don't have the answer. I'm the one here that is not a lawyer, but I am telling you something needs to change.
What is important here is that however concerning people are expressing their views, this isn't the norm, and I would challenge Louise.
So you don't think the system's broken at all, do you?
I don't think the system is broken. I think that the system is there and it works.
But you've got a family who think they were on trial.
I can quite understand. We live in the adversarial system.
How can that be a system that's successful?
I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
Can I just say, the idea that the victims are at the heart of the criminal justice system is completely wrong. And what you've said typifies the legal establishment. Put the victims to the side, ignore them. The fact that they are destroyed in a courtroom, that they can't reclaim the body of their child off the coroner because the post-mortems endlessly done by the defence just have to run and run and run. We need a rethink
Brian,
in the rights of victims.
you're wanting to get in there.
Yes, leave the system alone, leave it how it is, and carry on seeing Sally Dowler collapse in the court, see the court matron come in and try and treat her, see Gemma Dowler collapse on the court floor. If that's the good system, something's wrong here.
That's certainly not what's required. But what is important to state here...
It's not, sorry, not required.
What just happened, what you've just explained to me, is not required, should not happen.
But it does
Let me
happen.
make that clear. And of course there can be situations in courtrooms where those situations happen. And no one is going to stand here and say to either one of you that that is good and that is right. Let me make that clear. But what is important, I just need to state this point if I can, Christian. What is important? The criminal trial, the Crown Court trial is designed to establish guilt or innocence. That is the important thing. It is not a system whereby a cathartic experience, however much Louise would like this from her job description, it's Louise's job description to fight for that, but that's not what the trial is there for.
We must leave that point there. Just very finally, Brian Gilbertson, your advice to other families who may find themselves in this dreadful position of going through court, how to deal with the situation?
Well, I can't offer any help or assistance or any thoughts that I've gone through. It's the most harrowing time. I'm nearly 60 years old, and I can't explain to you the most harrowing experience. Sick, gut-wrenching, energyless, speechless. I was a person not known to myself on that stand in that court.
Thank you very much indeed for coming in tonight, all of you. Thank you very much.